Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, thank you so much for joining. As I promised you guys last week, it's going to be an exciting live today. I have somebody very special, and I think you guys will really enjoy this conversation. I've been looking forward to this so much. We are going to do a three-part series, and I think this will be very interesting, and especially for people couples who want to bring their pets to the wedding and trying to figure out how to navigate that. And I get a lot of questions. Sometimes it's really disappointing. Sometimes, a couple want to bring their pets to the wedding and they don't know how to do it. So I decided to bring who else but Philly Best Dog Trainer Rob today to talk to us, and we're gonna do like a three-part series about how to bring your pets, where hard it is to take your pets to a wedding. But first, with anything, you got to start with safety, because not only we want to make sure people are safe, we also want to make sure the dog are safe. We want to make sure that everybody's comfortable, that the pets, there's no harm to anything. So without further ado, let's talk. I'm going to give Rob the platform for him to introduce himself to you guys, tell you a little bit about what he does and his business, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation and start talking. So Rob, the floor is all yours.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Linda. I just want to start out with that. Um, so yeah, I've been officially training dogs for about 10 years now. We started the company, myself and my wife, back in 2016, unofficially training since 2014. I'm a disabled veteran, so we are a disabled veteran owned and operated company. So we can train your dogs from aggressive or reactive behavioral issues through puppy or regular, just temperamented dogs that kind of just play that perfect house dog role where everybody kind of just has, you come home and the dog's happy and you just want it to not cause you any issues or problems. So, whatever the type of dog is that you have, I essentially can help you with it. I am very dedicated, so I don't take failing or quitting easily. So, your dog is in good hands when you're with me. I won't quit until we're done. um, but yeah, so essentially again, like the topic that we're going to be covering is how to more or less integrate your dog into your wedding, or really how to keep your dog safe and comfortable throughout the wedding process. Um, but yeah, and if you guys have any questions, feel free throw them into the chat. I'll be able to do some FAQs. I think probably we'll probably have time, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, so I think that's generally what I have. For me, I've been through so many business programs, and I'm a business student as well right now. So I'm like, there's more to me than meets the eye, clearly. And I think that's why one of the reasons Linda and I had become friends back in the Goldman Sachs program a
Yes.
few years ago now. So nice to reconnect now professionally and officially, not just over the phone.
Yeah, no, it's and that's one thing. I love how passionate you are about your business, and I see how you are, how dedicated you are to your pets. I see you how you interact with pets, and I think, and especially like I have a couple that got married a couple of weeks ago, and they were really disappointed because they wanted to bring their pets, but there was too many logistic. And
Yep.
as a wedding planner, I don't claim to know everything. I don't know everything. Everybody are professional in their own right, so now, I decided that this would be the great topic for people who are interested in that. So, the first question I'm going to ask you with anything, what are some of the first steps couples should take when they are deciding to bring the tip? What are some of the training or preparation or essential things that they need to do before they even start the whole process? What will you say?
So this is like it's funny because most of the questions that you'll be asking me, and as we're going, I'm trying to get my software still running right now. So excuse me as I'm like up in the camera's face. But yeah, so really at the end of the day, what you're really talking about is how long before the wedding should you start training the dog?
Yep.
Not so much of like, how do we do this now that we want to get the dog in the wedding and we want to bring it, but more along the lines of how do we have a consistently well-trained dog before we even get to the wedding so that it's so much smoother. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to infants or babies that are coming into the house or into the picture. You want to get ahead of the curve. Um, and really, at the end of the day, like when it comes to dog training, you're not doing anything other than training what should be your best friend, right? So I'm like, having a well-trained dog just speaks very high volumes of you because it's consistency, it's staying hard on the dog when those moments come along where you shouldn't have to do something in your mind, but the dog still requires it. And there's a separation of like what I want versus reality that comes into
Yep.
play. And I think that's going to be a pretty big theme tonight with the topics of the conversations that we're talking about, because everybody would love to have their dog in the wedding, but is your dog actually capable of doing that? And that's kind of, you're only you are really going to know your dog, or deep down if your dog's going to quote unquote ruin the wedding or not, just go rogue, start jumping on people and go crazy. And there's so many factors that are going to play a fact, like major parts in the wedding, like who's going to be there, where these people are going to be, what type of people are they the people that ignore you at home when you say don't look at the dog or don't pet the dog, because when they're at the wedding they're going to be trying to throw that dog off just by eye contact when the dog's walking down an aisle, and the dog's getting all excited, leaves its job. Because again, these are dogs that are house dogs that we're trying, for the most part, that we're trying to train into wedding dogs. And which again is like this one-time thing. After that, it'll never be useful again. So it's, how do you continue to train with the dog after the wedding? It's not just like training up to a point, it's lifetime training no matter what. But yeah.
And I think, and you said one point that you made, I think is really great. You have to think about, you got to know your pets as well. You got
Yep.
to know the people, and people have to be able to, is your guest going to be respectful when you tell them, hey, don't touch the dog, don't pet the door, don't look at it's like, I
Yeah.
think when you said it, the first thought that came to mind is like service dog. People automatically see a service dog and everybody immediately want to pet a service dog or do something to it, but they realize that they have to be alert all the
Yep.
time. So when you distract them from what they're supposed to be doing, they can pay attention to the person that they're taking care of. So I think I
Exactly.
really love that, the fact that you address that people have to know, not only wanting them there, but also know that people follow what it is as well as humans. So not only
And it's always funny too, because you think you have control of things. And like one of my favorite things, as technology had evolved and like how cheap in-home cameras have gotten, you can get an easy $20 camera to leave in the room to see what people really do when you tell them not to do something. So sometimes, like, you can call me guilty if you want, but I would set up my guests and I'll be like, hey, like, don't give my dog any scraps, knowing that they're going to do it, but still walking out of the room and then watching them on camera. And I'm like, yo, didn't I tell you not to give my dogs any treats? And they're like, oh, I got caught. And it's just like, it's human nature to almost do the things that we're not supposed to do, or the things that we know. And sometimes people are going to do them unknowingly too.
yeah.
So say you have cat people that are coming to your wedding that don't know how to act around dogs. And it happens often where I have cat owners, they've had cats their whole life. They get a dog and they just kind of have like I don't know if you're familiar with like the movie Talladega Nights with
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, where he's like, I don't know what to
I
do
don't
with
know
my
what to do.
hands.
Okay.
And that's kind of like that's kind of what happens. So in the long term, it's kind of, they're trying to do the best thing that they can, and they're trying to be cool with the animal, but they really don't know what to do. So if you have a lot of people like unfamiliar with dogs at the wedding, I would start thinking about like seating arrangements, right?
Okay.
So many things are going to play into effect, and it's kind of like, how do you mitigate all of those things? So if like my mom and my dad drive my dog crazy, and it's going to go wild for sure at the wedding, then maybe I'll have mom and dad like hide off to the side of the seating where the dog can't see them immediately. um Really just trying to like give every dog the best chance to still be involved in the wedding. Even if the dog just comes up for pictures, you can still have the dog in the wedding. I think everybody has that dream of like the dog walking the rings up, and I'm like, yeah, see, I've been working with dogs for a long time, so I don't, not that the dog's gonna do something wrong, but somehow the universe and my training plan with my dog, or my clients and their dogs, something just seems to always go wrong at the perfect time. And I don't want that to ever be the wedding rings rolling somewhere, rolling into a ravine, something like a tiny crack in the floor, and now everybody's scrambling. So, again, I always try to tell people, like, if you're going to try to incorporate an animal into anything, just really, again, it is knowing that animal and knowing your level of training with it, truthfully. So how well have you been training for these types of things? And weddings are almost like, if you don't have access to the venue, it's going to be really hard to train this dog preemptively to get it used to doing something. And or you have to have enough room to set up a bunch of chairs and an aisle, and just set up this scenery where the dog believes it's going to be running through the same scenario over and over. And you can do it. Like, you could just potentially get away with finding a carpet and rolling the carpet out if that was your idea. Um, but yeah, there's so many ways that you can go on, and I'll go on forever about like how to train it, or like the things that could go wrong specifically. So yeah.
And I think you just went into my next question, because the next question I was going to ask you, how can couple create a comfortable environment for the pet at the venue? Like, what are some of the specific steps and you recommend to help keep the pet calm, not distracted, in the safe space, to make sure that that the pets are okay as well in those
Yeah.
spaces, especially in a new environment.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because like when people are worried about the pets at this point, how much they love their pets. So it's gonna some dogs that say you have an anxious dog, or like that iconic pug that's screaming like "Bah, bah, bah, bah," and like you don't want that to be what disrupts the wedding the entire time. If the dog can't stand to see mom or dad get away from them, it has separation anxiety. Those are typically the dogs that I'm gonna say like try to find somebody you trust, or a really good dog watcher, or like somebody that you can do daycare with that would specialize in just taking care of your dog for the day, where you put your dog up somewhere.
Okay.
Because again, like if the dog's not going to be incorporated into it and it's going to potentially cause conflict, that's only going to add more stress to the wedding. Like I'm sure that the bride doesn't need it, I'm sure the groom doesn't need it. So there is like the accountability and responsibility part, because again, we are getting married, we're adults now, so
Yeah.
so sometimes, as much as we'd like to have, the dogs incorporated, I'm like, sometimes it's best for the dog to not come, or say there's a special place in the building where you guys go get married, the dog came with you, you leave the dog in the crate, you've done really good crate training, because again, a crate's never used as punishment. A crate is always the dog's happy and safe place, and if you're training the crate right, they should love their crate. And they should also know the crate command no matter where they go, because
Okay.
you've done really solid training again. So again, like the building blocks getting to this thing are like there's a multiple steps that are going to get you to like that perfect wedding, with your dog incorporated. And it really, most of the time, a good training plan in home can get you 95% of the way. You just now are looking at the venue and just changing up these tiny little caveats to the dog scenarios. Um, yeah.
And then what I would ask is that choosing the right handlers, because not all dog trainers, we all know people are
Mhm.
people. There are some people are great at what they do. Some people are okay. Everybody do each his own. Everybody do things differently. There's multiple ways to train a pet to do things. So why say you say it's important to pick the right handler? Because from what you're saying so far, we have talked about is that there's a lot of layers that goes on with pets, and things are unpredictable. And just a little insight, wedding is not predictable even without the death. There's so many fires we have to put out
Yeah.
to on the wedding day. If
Oh,
only
yeah.
the couple know what we have to do. So trust me, I get it. The pet would be like the easiest thing so far.
Yeah.
So what are what are some of the getting the why is it important to get the right dog trainer, the right handler to handle your pets? Why is it so important?
So if you have the wrong person, you can guarantee it's going to go the wrong way. If you have, and again, this comes down to not coming down to last moment with the wedding, like trying to get preemptively ahead of planning, meeting people, even if worst case scenario, you just want the dog at the wedding and you want somebody that's going to be cheap, you can get on Rover. Right, you don't have to have like a professional like me. Like I'm not going to be cheap. Like I'll be blunt and honest with everybody up front. That's just my personality and my business nature. Might not be great for business, but it's great for the honesty of integrity of my career field. So, the cheapest route would be a Rover person, or some kind of app where you can get somebody, you've interviewed them, you've met them, they've watched the dog a couple of times, they're there just to hold the leash. And maybe they even, maybe you pay for their suit or something. You could pay them more, which is still less than a professional like me coming in and handling a dog. Because depending on what you're doing with the dog, if I have a ring bearing dog, then yeah, you're going to want to pay somebody like me to come in, because you want to make sure this dog is getting these thousands of dollars items up this aisle and it's going to hit its mark, period, on the spot. But if you just want the dog for photos or something, you could have somebody off to the side. The dogs are at the wedding, they're on leash, their only responsibility is really try to have a good time, keep the dog out of the main way of everybody at the wedding. Everybody's in suits, and you don't want to mess them up. They're rentals potentially. You don't want to mess up anybody's suits or dresses. So, just keeping the dogs generally away from people, but still accessible for that comfort and emotional support per se for people who are getting married. Um, yeah, and I think like at the end of the day, still just kind of like having that comfortable relationship, knowing that you could send a look to that person where they're like you look at them and they look at the door, or you look at the door after you look at them and they know, okay, they want me to get the dog out of here. I can go hang out in the back room with the dogs for a couple hours until they're done doing whatever. Um, I'm almost positive nobody wants to have the dogs around when the moment comes that people get put up on chairs or start getting tossed in the air. I don't think that any dog is going to be prepared for that specific scenario. So I'm like, at that point, that's when I want you to get ahead and get the dogs and take them out of the room. When the celebration ends, the cake's been had, that dance goes down. Maybe even before the dance, you don't want a father daughter dance with a dog in the middle jumping up, scratching people, pulling dresses apart. So, and dogs have their emotions too, so they're going to be unpredictable. You just try to take away as much unpredictability as you can, again, with solid training. And that's just going to be what I just say over and over: is continual training, constant training, nonstop repetition of training. Because when you go into it, if it's questionable, you're only questioning because somewhere deep down that you probably didn't do as much training as you could have or should have. So I'm like, when I go into a scenario with any of my dogs or my clients' dogs, I know that I'm going to have the results that I want. If not, I know that I have the means and tools and skill set to fall back into, to kind of mitigate anything that's coming forward, which is sometimes is redirecting people away. Like, oh yeah, no, sorry, they're here at the wedding, but they're not for pets. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
no, not
that's true.
today.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want them overloaded or overwhelmed either. It's just not. It's going to be the basis of disaster.
No, but I think what you say, and I think for me, it boils down when it comes to pricing and cheap and everything. I think it boils down to what do you want, how important it is.
Yeah,
If you want your pet, yes, you can get anything down the line that can be temporarily. But my thing is that if this pet is important, because some people pet is like their family, there's are their kids, they hold sentimental values to them. So if they are important to you to the part that you want them to be a part of your special day or cold memory, I say you should not hold expense because at the end of the day, let's just be earned. You pay for what you get. If you pay for a service that's setting amount of money, that's the level of service you're going to get. But if you want a professional who are professionally trained, who took the time to master the craft and invest into themselves to make sure that you have your pet at their important day, I just say how important it is when it comes to cost, because cost is relatively, because to some people that value what's more important, having that pet there than worry about the money, because sometimes people spend money on stupid things and spend money on things on the wedding that you're like, why are you even buying that? But if it's that important to you, I just think that
yeah,
it's money should not play that factor. That's just how I look at it. Because for me too, as a professional, I tell clients all the time, my price is my price. I took time to invest. If you hire me, I know the level of service that I'm going to bring to you. I know the expertise. I'm going to make sure that you get exactly what you want. Even the things that you know you didn't need, you're going to get it. And I think the same thing stands for you, that if they hire you, not only are you just going to make sure that the dog is prepared for the wedding, but you want to make sure that the dog is safe. You want to make sure that the people are safe. So if you want somebody to just wash your dog and just stay in there, if that's what it is, or do you want your dog to actually be a part of your special day? So
yeah.
it's all back to what's important to you. So if it's important to you, pay the money.
Yeah, for example, literally, this is like if I'm at a wedding and I have a dog and the dog needs to be taken out of the room, I'm going outside and I'm playing with it. I'm doing something, I'm tugging something to get some of the energy out, but then I'm also training. So recalling all the other training skills, making sure that dog stays in like that calm mindset of training, not like, oh my God, there's so many people, there's so much going on in here. There's music blasting, people are glasses breaking potentially, like all these weird new sounds and scenarios that they might not be conditioned to. And again, conditioning is going to be a big part of things. So as just a tip to people out there, say you have a really scared dog of something, like any really quick sounds, loud sounds. If you're at a bar, or not a bar mitzvah, my bad. If you're at a Jewish wedding, a bar mitzvah, and you're stomping on the
Well, you never
glass,
know. It
and
might be a bar mitzvah. They might want the kid, the dog, to be a part. So
yeah,
it don't
true.
always have to be a wedding. It can be any special event that you want your pets to be there. So
That's
hey,
a whole nother market I didn't even think of until now.
yes,
So
you
look
never
at that.
know.
There we go. But yeah, so at a wedding, if glass is breaking or people are smashing plates, anything like that, like just literally go ahead and get the dog out before that, or take them out for a little quick break, let them take a walk, let the glass smashing commence, and then bring them back after. Just try not to get that cortisol levels up. You don't want them being stressed, and that just compounding and building as each new thing goes down. They're just in there getting more and more freaked out. And if you can ask the vet, the vets are probably going to be like, "Oh, here, take some trazodone. Here, we can medicate the dogs, and they can be calm." But you know, I'm like, medication over doing the work. I'd rather just do the work than have to medicate my dog for no reason per se, just to have them there. But to
And I
each
think
their
it
own.
can be done. It's just like you said, it's all about repetition and how long you plan something and what are
Yeah.
you willing to invest. And it's not only for a wedding, because if you train your dog in that situation, you can take them anywhere. You know that they already have those social cues and how to deal with certain things, that they will be okay in that situation. So from what I'm hearing you saying is that the important to not just wait. Because sometimes couple will be like, oh, I want my dog. And then 2 weeks down the line, they'd be like, oh, my dog's going to be a part of the wedding. No, I think there's something, the moment you get engaged,
Yeah.
then when you start planning, start factoring in those things. Okay, this is what I want my dog to do. I want to be a part of it. And because I think what it is, people see a lot of stuff on social media and they see the dog walking down and it's so
Yeah.
cute.
That's
And
a lot of
everybody
work.
just automatic think like, okay, my dog can do that. But you don't know how long, what it took to get them
That's
to do those
it's a
things. So
lot of it's a lot of work literally to be at that point. So when you see successful dog weddings, just know those people put that work in. And if that dog's looking really good and you're like, "Wow, look how easy that is." It's not easy. There's nothing easy about anything that I'm describing to you, which is why I don't I have been through school after school. I've learned from different people, different realms of trainers, like sports training, scent detection, protection work, like getting bit by dogs, behavioral people. So any of the aggressive, fearful, reactive dogs, nervous dogs, high anxiety dogs, like those are like my specialty. The behavioral issue dogs, that is, not like the protection work. I try to stay out of it as much as I can, but I do enjoy getting bit. That's always fun. You saw those pictures and
yes, I
videos
did.
back in the day.
And I don't
Love
understand
that.
how you do that. I'm like, I'm gonna be running the other way, but you
Nah,
actually
they need that. Those dogs are training for a different purpose. So I'm like, those dogs are meant to protect you. So I'm like, if you want your dog to actually protect you, that's a whole nother route. We're not even talking about that when it comes to wedding. It's not even close. That level of training is like, when you look at wedding training, that's like, wedding training is cakework compared to what the amount of work that a protection dog would go through. Um, which, not at the end of the day, I can't say that wouldn't be like a great wedding gift or something to somebody who really wants to work with a dog every single day for the rest of their life and the dog's life to make sure that it stays in check. Notice how really complicated that just got on the end of
yeah.
that. Um, that's the amount of work that you're going to be doing to keep those dogs from becoming a financial, physical, and like emotional liability to you, literally. Um, but yeah, wedding dogs, on the other hand, at the end of the day, I think if you're going to go cheap, you're probably going to end up with some sorts of issues. If you're going to go with the expensive route, you're going to get somebody who knows what they're doing. You're going to get somebody, well, ideally, you get somebody that knows what they're doing. I'm like, there's a lot of people out here doing dog training with air quotations on that. Um, but yeah, it's in general, I think you pretty much nailed it on the head. Like, if you want somebody to do it right, just pay for it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, is that this is something important to you. How important it is to, because I see people devastated that the pet was not there and they get really sad. And some people had pet, maybe some pass on, and some people who have one left and they just feel bad or everything like that. So my question is that, do you, because especially from what I know, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, every dog have somebody that they listen to more than each person in the relationship. They have one master that they obey. So let's say if mom and dad is already in the wedding, will it be ideal for when you are training during the wedding, it's ideal to either have a handler there or to have some family member that would train along. Because let's say if dad is the one that doing the training process, he's standing on the aisle, he cannot train the dog at that moment.
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
something that do they have somebody with the dog? Is it ideal to have a handler there or have another person who trained along with them
Yeah.
during those times?
For sure, because like really at the end of the day, and this is where I'm like, if you're gonna do ring bearer or something, call the trainer because
Okay.
like I'm gonna be the one behind like mom and dad at the or whoever's by the door, or even not even in the doors. I'm holding the dog back, right? And I'm the one that's gonna be holding, controlling, and then releasing the dog to bring the rings up to whoever, whether it's the husband or wife or whoever's getting married in general, literally. So I'm like, whoever's going to be up there and the one to do the recall with the dog, ideally that's going to be the strongest one that you're speaking
Okay.
of. Um, but at the end of the day, like the goal is I try to strive to get my clients. So if it is any kind of relationship where there's more than one owner, I want the dog to practice with both of them as much as possible because I want the dog to respond to both of them. Worst case scenario, the dog doesn't like one person initially. You start training with that dog, you build a relationship with that dog over time, but it comes through training. A lot of people are just like, oh, well, the dog doesn't like me. It
Mhm.
doesn't like me because whatever, but you haven't tried to speak its language either. So unless you're training with the dog, it's if there's two people up there with a strong relationship, chances are dog's going to go up to the altar, or so that it's you want to have a good relationship with the dog. If one person up there and the dog doesn't like that person, well, I only half want to go up there, right?
Yes.
So I mean, dogs are pretty logical at the end of the day. It's like pretty funny when you really start thinking about it. But I prefer to have one person really like that. It would just be set up a routine, and that would be the same thing over and over and over that we would do, and we would probably give the dog like a mock outfit. You want
Okay.
to kind of train like those little factors. So if the dog's carrying flowers, even I was thinking about this as we were talking about it the other day, and I'm like, I would literally get two baskets, kind of like taper them off on a little vest, and like kind of put them
Oh,
to
that
the
is so
back,
cute.
right to the back of the ribs, and then as the dog walks side to side, like I'm thinking of like like a pudgy old lab, and the
Oh,
dog's
that
just
is, oh my
dropping
God,
some.
that is so cute. See, now you put it
Yeah,
out. It's so
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So whoever out there wants to design a wedding basket for flowers, you can just go ahead and have this dog let a oversized basket just dump side to side, flowers going up.
Oh,
And I thought about it
that
too,
is
and
cute.
it'll be genius because it's
I
perfect
know it
placement.
will be. That would be
Two
actually neat because it's actually like, yeah.
two nice lines of flowers going straight up instead of somebody throwing them all over the place for somebody to trip over on the way up.
So you see,
Um,
guys, there you go. That's why it pays to have a professional because I wasn't
yeah,
even thinking about that. Now you got a professional who got a flower dog, not one of
yeah.
the ring bearer, but you actually got a flower dogs and
Even
things.
even even easier. I would no crazy expensive nothing could go missing, right? So I'm
No.
like, maybe you don't do the rings if you have a dog that might go wild. Maybe you just have a flower dog that everybody will laugh at and have a good time if it does go wild, and you maybe make an announcement beforehand. You're like, hey, everybody knows Crazy Toto. Here comes Crazy Toto with the flowers. If he says hi, just keep your hands to yourself and just let him run them on up. And like, ideally, the dog comes up to the front. You could do it and get away with it with the right dog. But again, like if you have any dogs where you're like not sure how they're going to react or act, you really have to get down that training, or just you're going to have to consider not bringing the dog into the wedding if it's like a reactive or aggressive case, unless you have people that are like steel gated off on both sides of the aisle all the way up. It's like a jail cell where the dog just runs up an alley. But yeah, that's I think in general, like you're gonna have better luck with one person that has a really strong recall with a dog, or really two people that have been integrated into training. Sorry, tongue
But
twister.
from my understanding, I think ideally, especially as a wedding planner, I would advise my client to have a dog trainer on site because,
Yeah.
like you said, if they are training, that couple of hours that you're going to pay for them, it's going to make the wedding day even more better. Because if they're hired professional, they can understand dog will relate. They know cues, they know things. And I think sometimes too, you guys can see those things before it's happened.
Oh
Like
yeah.
y'all can
Yeah.
sense it, y'all can tell all those things
Yeah.
versus regular people just be like, oh, mom, maybe he's just being friendly. Or maybe you just, because you guys, like, for example, like as a wedding planner, I see trouble before it starts. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even with little kids, I do not let a flower or ring bearer hold the ring because come on, who want to give a $10,000 ring or a $20,000 ring or however ever cost your ring costs to a 5 year old to say, hey, there you go, walk down the aisle where at any moment they can fling it some way. Literally, what I normally do at my weddings, we get a fake ring and have them hold on to the ring. The best man, either the best man have the ring or the groom himself have the ring, but we have a fake ring on the pillow where the kid can walk with because some kids are kids. At any moment, they might just drop on the floor and roll on the ground. But like, you know what? I'm not doing it today. I'm not walking down here. I don't want to talk to you. So they're unpredictable. So if you want to give your pet your diamond ring at any moment,
Be
I
prepared
would
with a
not
backup. Have a backup on standby.
So I would not advise that. So even with a best trainer, I don't care who I would say, have a fake little ring and let it be something nobody knows. Nobody gonna know it's not your real ring. Just have them have something just to be a part of it. But I would not give an expensive diamond ring to a little kid or a pet. Even adults lose rings, so is the, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to integrate the dog into the wedding, not blame the dog for the disaster.
So So I would say, just do that. So another thing I think you touched a little bit on, I want to talk about keeping the dog hydrated and feeding, like the importance, especially for outdoors
Oh yeah,
wedding, because sometimes you think about it during the ceremony if it's outdoor, and ideally, I would say if you're having your dog a part of your wedding, it should be for ceremony purpose only. After that, they should go home.
yeah.
If it's an outside wedding where mom and dad, or whoever partner they have out there on the stage hydrate, keeping the dog hydrated, making sure they're hungry, making sure that they're not hungry. I mean, taking a break, when to what, and even in regards to outfit, what are they supposed to wear that they're not irritated, that they're not hot, they're not trying them stuff them with suits that they're uncomfortable. What are some recommendations and what are some of the things that you would say that people should do in those instances, especially if you're having an outdoor wedding where it's not AC and things
Yeah.
like that for your pet?
So one, you're going to want to look into everything you can find out and learn about heat exhaustion for your dog's heat injuries. You're going to want to find shade. Obviously, if there's a building where the dog can stay inside predominantly, then do that. We don't want them out there getting dehydrated, but you also don't want them intaking a ton of water or a ton of food or really any food. So my recommendation might scatter a couple people, but I wouldn't feed the dog for I might not even feed breakfast or lunch to the dog. Say the wedding doesn't go on till 2, 3, 4 o'clock. I might not feed my dog that morning or afternoon, get as much poop out of them as I can throughout the day.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. We no poopy weddings. We're wearing white, right? So